We'll start the recording. Okay, we have learned about this in the previous session. We have learned about this bin factory. We have stepped into the Spring Core IOC, inverse of control, where we are seeing the concept of Java objects, how it is getting enhanced. And we are progressing towards the concept of component. But prior to component, where we have seen an application of a component using AutoWare, but here we start from the very beginning, how the concept of component came into picture. And Spring Boot was one of the architects who had given the concept of these components into Java. So here what we do is, first of all, let us see the example of bin factory. Now, in doing the bin factory, did we observe one thing where we were in this app Spring demo, right? That was the main program or the main execution entry point. We have seen that it is good, it is working. We could pick up from this factory what? Through the get bin, an object called align, our entity class align, an entity align. So therefore, and we are calling this code from that object. And we are saying, I am coding. That is fine. That is fine. But did you see that this is deprecated? This has been deprecated. That means the support for this particular library or this particular class is no longer available. So in a higher version tomorrow, if Spring Boot comes with a higher version, we will never be able to use this because this support might altogether. That means that will be a bad sort of a command if you want to give it. There is no class, so no class like this will be found. So absolutely that support would have been taken out. So better we never try using anything which is deprecated, anything like that. Okay, always remember this. So whenever the project or the Spring Boot is giving you, or not the Spring Boot, that Maven, basically the Maven build or the Maven project is giving something that it is going to be not right to use this, and is giving some warnings that this is deprecated. So what you do, you try to think of something else. This version of Spring through the Maven is coming up with some other suggestion that you might be using something. And what is that? We are going to use the application context. Okay, we are going to use application context. So let me, for the time being, take this out because we are not going to use this. The support is over. We are forgetting about this. What we do, we have a very nice way, application context. That means you are using a factory. Instead of using a bin factory, you are using the application context. Now this is again, let me take this out. Now this is again, this is an interface again. Like the bin factory was an interface, this is an interface again. And as you know, and any interface, you will need a, what is this?
Constructor.
That is basically it's a class. This interface will be implemented by a class. So this application context is an interface. It will be implemented through this particular context. This particular class. And we are using a constructor of that class to a parameterized constructor. We are passing a parameter called spring.xml, exactly same way like here. Here we had to use file system resource. Here we directly give a parameter to the constructor of this class. Correct? So basically they are doing the same thing. Only here it is not a bin factory. It is the application context. And this application context interface will be implemented through this class constructor. And this constructor is getting a reference of spring.xml. That means the configuration file, it is referring to that. So class, what we see, a class path. In Java, you know, a class path is the application wherever the Java classes are there. You need to point out to this particular path. So in the environment variable, you will say class path. And what is available in that class path is an application context in form of an XML file. Are you getting me? This is again an XML configuration file, but it is basically, we say it's an application context. And this XML file or the configuration file will be available in this class path. So this class gives you a configuration, application context configuration file called spring.xml, but which is available in the class path. In this file system resource, we knew that the spring.xml would be there under the project called Spring Demo. If you see, it is directly under Spring XML, was directly under this project folder called Spring Demo. Okay. But here you are saying that I will use the class path of this application context because I'm going to implement the application context interface. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Tell me, ask me a question if you don't have, because instead of using a bin factory, because bin factory can only be implemented through XML bin factory, but we have seen that XML bin factory is no longer supported in Spring or in Maven. Tomorrow it may happen that the library will not be available in the Maven dependency altogether. Therefore, better to not use it. We will use a new thing that has been given by Spring, which is called the application context. And then Spring understands this particular XML file, which is a Spring configuration file, through the class path XML application context. Okay. And definitely, you know, getBin. You are doing the same thing. You have created this object called factory. This you can give any name, but I'm keeping the same name as it was created with a bin factory, same name. So similarly, I will be typecasting to align, and I'm picking up from that a bin from this application context, because the Spring will create a container having all the bins, and one of the bins is this align. So shall we run this program? Our spring.xml, we can again go there and see that yes, I have a bin with an ID align, and this is nothing but an align entity class. And align class is this one, where it is a simple Pojo class, which is only having, it is, though I'm saying an entity class, we are not implementing any getters and setters. Why? We are not giving any getters and setters. We do not have any properties. And also we do not have any getters and setters. Still we say that this is an entity class. It is going to give me an entity object without the getters and setters. Why we did not give getters and setters? Because we are using a framework called Spring framework. framework will handle the Spring Beans. So Spring takes the responsibility of creating the object, maintaining the object, deleting the object. We are not going to handle that. So if that is left on the Spring, why do we need to have to worry about setting the getters and setters? Is that logical? Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Everything has a very logical thing. So
Sir,
because,
I cannot understand.
hello,
Yes, sir. Sir, please explain it again, sir.
huh, I will surely explain it. What is happening is, I'm saying that I'm trying to get a bean from this factory. And factory is a name. I've just created an application context and I've given a name. I can give it any name, object factory, or a bean factory, you can say. If you do not like the term factory, you can say bean container, bean container. Okay, do you like this term? You can give it. That means all this is a place, this is the application context, which implements the application context, this class path XML. So I am giving a configuration file by the name spring.xml. You can give any name. And what is there? I'm saying that in this spring.xml, I'm mentioning that this is a configuration file. This entire file is an XML configuration file. What I'm saying, this beans is a container. It's a box or a container which will have one or more than one bean declared, defined. This is the container and this is the content. So there can be one bean or there can be 100 of beans. Beans are the entity classes, entity objects. Like align is one bean, where we are doing something with particularly these beans are actually used for entity. Entity means it is going to be finally used in the table. Through the application, you are going to map to a table in the database. Because after all, you are going to fetch the data, you are going to view the data, you are going to update the data, you are going to delete the data, you are going to create a new data, all these things, you are going to create a new entity, you are going to update an entity, you are going to view all the entities, or you may view a particular entity, or finally you might delete one entity. So all these create, read, update, delete, these 4 operations called the CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete. This is your basically interaction with the database. Clear? So therefore, to interact with the database, we need to create entities. Entity, or you can say, from the concept of Java beans, we can say these are beans. Entity class or entity bean, or simply Java, because this is a simple Pojo class, plain old Java object, and this object is nothing but Java bean. If you apply that to enterprise, so you say EJB, which is enterprise Java, same thing, exactly the same thing. Here it is only one entity bin. Fine. I'm doing an example only. So this bin I'm trying to fetch or get from a factory, or now I have changed the name. So I will change it to bin container. Fine. See, there is no problem because I have given this bin container a name like this. You say bin container dot get bin. So this object has a method called get bin, and I'm just picking up the align entity object. You see, I am not creating. If in Java, if I want to create, what will I do? You tell me, you suggest me. If I wanted to create the align object, that object of type align.
Align obj
Align obj equal to
new.
New.
Yes, by using new keywords. Sir.
New.
Align
Because align is the class and the
New
constructor.
align. Yes, sir.
Yeah. If there is a default constructor, I will say empty without any parameter. This is the way I create an object. But now Spring says, why are you creating all this trouble for yourself? Because if you create the object, you have to maintain the object, you have to delete the object, and you have to manage the memory of that object. Why do you have to take? You are only going to deal with the leave the how on me. You only think about the what. Okay, Anirban, it's fine. So, are you getting me? I am not going to take this responsibility. We are not going to create objects from now on. We are leaving this responsibility to handle objects on whom? On the Spring framework that we have included in our Maven dependency. Maven dependency says, yeah, you have taken this Spring framework from this repository, Maven repository. Okay. Therefore, you leave it on me. Therefore, I'm not going to do this part at all. We are not going to create objects from now on. We are leaving this responsibility to handle objects on Spring framework. Okay. Do you agree? I will do like this. What I do, I will simply say, I will refer to this object with a reference of align, because this object is nothing but an of type align, because this align is the entity. Okay. And this align, instead of creating, I am picking up this or getting the bin from the bin container, because I know I have created this application context where I have used the configuration file to store or to store the bins into this container. And that container is nothing but the bins container, which is defined under the spring.xml, this bins. Under this container, I'm keeping this bin. Is that clear? This is the part, this is the configuration. Spring will read this. Spring framework will read this configuration. It knows how to read this. It will look for a tag called bins. And then it will look inside the bins tag and find out that there is one bin declared with an ID called align, which will be referred in the application. But actually, this is an alias name. This is just an ID, but the actual class is align, which is there under the package com.pcsglobal.springdemo. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
If you have any doubt, please ask me now. Because afterwards we are not going to repeat the same thing. Okay. So I understand you understand
So
this.
this is yes, sir.
Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
So this is not understood, sir.
Now, no, I will not accept any question like that. Where did you not understand? Which one? How do I know which one did you not understand? Which part? You can refer me with the line number or refer this configuration. What did you not understand?
This one, sir. Line number 6 of old Spring is Spring.xml, sir.
Did you do servlet?
Yes, sir.
Did you have come across the term called the file called web.xml? Web.xml?
Yes, sir.
So that was a configuration file for servlet.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Think of the same situation here. This is also a configuration file. It is saying that I will pick up a bean by the name align from the class align.
Okay.
And this class is available under com.pcsglobal.springdemo. This is the class. Yes, because here, where is this class defined? Under the package com.pcsglobal.springdemo.
Yes, sir.
And then I have said dot align because that is how you refer to a complete path or absolute path.
Okay.
So by this container knows that whenever somebody will refer me by this name, I will execute the class called align. That's all. So what it is doing? Somebody is referring me with align ID. So I will go to immediately. I will go to Spring Align, Spring XML, the configuration name, any name, and I will check out of these 100 bins I have declared. I will definitely find, and remember this ID has to be unique. I cannot name 2 bins with the same ID. 2 different bins. 2 different bins. Here it is 1 bin. I am referring, but now your question could be that, sir, can I have the same class but referred through different IDs? That we will come the next level. Then we will come to the term called singleton. This is the pattern, the design pattern and prototype. So whether I can refer to one entity class, of course I can use one ID, but can I have another bin ID? Can I have another bin ID? Do not change the ID. This is the keyword. You have to change here, align 1. And can I have this particular? That is the question that I expect from you. Not that, sir, I didn't understand. Understanding is up to you. But the question should be very intelligent. So that could have been one question. That, sir, can I have 2 IDs, 2 different IDs referring to the same class or the same bin?
No.
Yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah, fine. Either the answer could be yes or no. You said no because you might not be having an idea, but I will say yes. I can refer multiple IDs to the same. So this doesn't mean that I am referring to align 1, because align 1 there is nothing called align 1. I'm referring to the same class or entity, but with different IDs. Maybe this ID is having some different application. Yes, I'm calling this ID from where? From my application. From my application called appspringdemo.java, the main application, the main file. So I could have created another object and I could have referred the same bin with what? I will change here. I will not change here. Are you getting? Okay, that I'm going to come. That I'm going to come, not from this example. Let us understand this example simply.
Oh,
I can do that. We will come to that. Singleton and Prototype. These are the design patterns. See, you are learning a new technology. So there are many things that is new to you. I understand, and that is not a problem. Okay. Now, is this part clear? This is simply think of a bin under the container bins. This is just a name. This is a tag. But the Spring, application Spring framework knows how to interpret this. You cannot give anything that bins. No. You cannot give anything. It is expecting a term called bins, a tag bins, which is a defined. This is the element, XML element bins. You cannot give anything else. This is a container for bin. See how clearly it is written. We are learning the correct thing. This is called an element, XML element, of course, which is nothing but an object called container. This is container. And what is the function of a container? Container is like a bucket. You keep things into it. And what is the thing that the container bins contain? It is nothing but bin. Another element. Okay. Any confusion? The entire thing, this entire file is called a configuration file. This is called declarative configuration. Declarative, it is not imperative. You know, there are two things. But leave that topic. Imperative is that means you step by step you do things. Whereas here you can declare many things in one configuration file. Okay. So this is a configuration file. That's all. Is that clear? If I have to access a particular bin, I have to look for this container bins. Then I can go for that particular ID. And this ID I'm referring over here. Now, the question was whether I can change the ID. If I want to change the ID, if I want to make it a 2, then I must have in this Spring XML a bin ID called align2, referring to a particular align class, maybe the same align class. The entity bin, the actual bin. This is just the name given to this. Like you have a name, Anirban. You could have another name called Ani, but will you change?
no, sir.
Just because I have changed your name as a person, will you change?
No, sir.
No. Similarly, I can give another name to another bin, but basically I'm going to use the same bin.
Yes, sir.
Same person. Maybe I'm referring to with a different name. You have an official name and you have a house name, home name, but you remain the same, right? It is the same thing as this. So here, okay. So are you getting me? So you can refer a same class, same entity class, but with a different alias name. That's all. So if you had mentioned getBin align2, I must try to find that whether you have defined align2, but here you have not defined. Just to let you know. Okay, then there is a problem. But if you had said align and you go and check in Spring, yes, then you are correct because you will find this entity referred by align. Up to this, any questions? So what you did, you have created an application context and you have given it a name of an object as bin container, where you are storing all the bins that has been defined under this configuration file through the class path XML application context. This is the class name. You have to remember this. Okay. And therefore you have picked up the bin from that configuration with the name align from this container. What is this container? Bin container, because you have created from here. And you have typecasted, and therefore this object has been defined. You have not created, but you have got it. And therefore you are using this. So can I run this? So will you expect that finally I am coding going to be executed? Just go to align. You are using this code, correct? So you are going to print I am coding. I'm expecting this. Do you expect the same result? Yes or no? Like this one. When we had run this with the bin factory, you got I am coding over here, isn't it? So you agree? No one is speaking.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Agree, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the output should be I am coding, because that is my objective, and that's why I have defined this object. Okay, let me see. Let me run this. How do I run? I will just go there and I will say run as. I will run as a Java application, but because it is not yet you have
It is a
created.
Maven project.
It's a Maven project. Yes, Maven Java project. Yes, correct. Because we have not yet given it a Spring Boot application. So Java application. Oh, but I have got some error. Big error. But whatever the error might be, you see, always go by the root cause. It is caused by java.io file not found exception. The class path resource spring.xml cannot be opened because it does not exist. Oh, why? But I am seeing this spring.xml here. Are you getting me? You are getting an error that it is not finding. Earlier, the file system resource did know that this spring.xml, if it is mentioned, I must go and find under spring demo. Under project directory, if I find a spring.xml, then it's fine. If I don't find, then I will throw the same error. But what about this? Class path XML application context. It is not finding the spring XML. Why? It is not finding the. Can anybody tell me why?
Because it is not in source. Because it is not in source file.
Who said this?
Santan.
Santan. Okay, very good. See, whenever you see something like application context, what is your application folder? Your application folder, this is the project folder. And bin factory and this XML bin factory will search for that any configuration file under the project. But once you refer as application context, application is the source directory of application is src main java. And under this, you will find that that under this package. Here, all your application files lie. Basically, this is the source. This should be the source of spring.xml. So what do you do? Can I copy this and put it under this? Otherwise, it will not find. I will not change the configuration file. What I will do, I will pick it from here. I will say right click. I will say copy. Then I will go to this src main Java. I will say paste. So what is happening? Spring.xml now is available under src main Java. So do you think if I run now, my problem is gone? It should be. Because this application goes to the application folder to find out that configuration file. Now it should find. I don't know. Let me check. Oh, yes, it works. It is giving my, now it is giving, I'm coding because it correctly picked up the bin align from the configuration file. Now the configuration file is available under the application. Is it true? Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
So if somebody asks you about the difference between XML bin factory and class path XML application context, see here, this is bin factory. Here, this is application context. This part, up to this part, XML bin factory and XML, it is not no longer bin factory, it is XML application context remains the same. Only that you are mentioning class path. So this is how you understand the file name of the class. Why class path? Because you are mentioning the class path, like in Java class path, you mention the class path of the application. That's all. So now you get this, the logical name, how this naming has been done for this particular class. That you are replacing the XML bin factory with the XML application context, because this is the going to implement the application context. Do I have to repeat this, or are you fine with this example? Then we can proceed.
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Can I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Everyone, did you understand the logic of this particular first application of Maven project?
Proceed.
Proceed. Okay. Correct. Fine. Now, let us, so we have covered this topic called bin factory and application context, right? No confusion. Let us come to the Spring container. Now, this application context is fine, but to expand on your idea, we will work with the Spring container. This is another topic, how we actually derive into the last thing, which is the AutoWare, the component. So this is the Spring container. Let us start with that. I will make this off. Let me keep this on. And instead of app Spring demo, what I will do, I will have app Spring container. Just the main file changes. But I have completed the previous program. I'm going to the next example. So I am also changing the entity class. I'm saying align container. So it is an align object, but it is a container. I'm given the name, just a name, but still it's an entity class. Entity or bin class. Correct? I've just given the name. Let me see what is there in app Spring container to start with. Okay. Here I have created a class. The way I create any class in Java or this thing is I have created public class apps. I've given a name as app spring container, where there is a main method, because from here I will run this. I have known that I will create an application context. I've given a name, factory. Okay, do you like factory? Okay, let me keep it like this only. And new, same thing. I'm mentioning that I want to use Spring XML. Fine. And then what I'm doing, I'm saying similarly, instead of align, I'm saying align container, because my entity class is now align container. Okay. And in this align container, I have one property. You know, in any class, especially in the entity class, you will have field names or properties, which will map exactly to the table. So here I have a simple property called age. Age, I have not given any value. Okay, fine. Just ignore this. This is a default constructor. What is the constructor? A default constructor is something which does not have any parameter or argument. So I have defined a default constructor by the same name as this class, as you know. And I'm just showing that align container object created some message. Because the purpose of this is that I would like to create an object out of align container, that entity class. And I do not do anything. I have defined the same thing. I am coding, but now I am giving the particular object, the value, obj, because I am here. Earlier, I didn't have any parameter or argument with the code function. Here now I'm passing a parameter as a string object. Default constructor, yes, default constructor is this one, align container. Default constructor, why? Because it doesn't have any parameter. And I am similarly defining the same thing, a method called code, but I'm passing a parameter, a string object. And I'm saying that object plus I'm coding this message. Let me see. But for this, what do I need to do? If I am, this is the align container, fine. This is the entity. Now I am defining this object by picking up a get bin align to. So whenever when I say this, get bin knows where it should find align to. Where will get bin check and find out align to and its definition? Anyone? Anyone? Jagdish?
Yes, sir.
Jagdish? Or Deepak? Or anyone who have been following from day one? Whenever I mention align to is an ID of some bin.
IDs.
Sir, XML file, sir.
From the XML file, from the spring.xml, yes.
From the XML.
Configuration, where I will mention this alias name, the ID. And getBin will go and pick up that ID with its definition and execute that particular entity class. Okay, let me go to spring.xml. Now, my spring.xml is this one.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Do I have align to?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I don't have. Therefore, I must create that. Otherwise, it will not execute.
Yes, sir.
And also this thing has changed. See, if I go to spring.xml, oh, why did I open two? Let us work with this. One will do. Oh, okay, okay. It might be. So let me start fresh. I will open this one because there is another spring.xml in the your under the project folder. Okay. So in this bin, I have an align, and it is picking up align. But is this align or align container? This is align container, which is it is referring to align container, not align. So I must create something which will give me this alias, which is an ID, and it will pick up the align container. So I shall go there. What I do, let me copy this. Copy this from my old definition, or you can just type it also. I am putting it over here. Do you agree? Can I do that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I have to take out this remark. I have to take out this comment. Now, I have very nicely defined one ID called align2 because I'm going to use align2. Fine. And what is align2 calling? It is align container. So it will refer to a class called align container. Oh, yes, it is correct. Right now, I'm not giving anything. By default, always remember the design pattern says if I don't mention anything as a scope, the scope is always singleton. Singleton means I can refer to the align container one bin with multiple objects. Multiple objects, because this is going to be an object of this. I can have another ID called align3, but referring to the same. I can have another ID called align4. I can refer with the same. So multiple objects refer to the same bin. That is possible through this configuration. We will check that. But right now I have only one bin and I'm referring with a one ID, particular ID. Okay. So let me save this. So I have, how many bins are now there under bins?
2.
2. One is this and the other one is this. There are 2 bins. But you see the IDs are different. In this application, you are referring to a particular ID and that is aligned to. Will it ever go and check? Will it ever go and try to execute this align?
No, sir.
No, because it is clearly mentioned that if your application is asking for align2, you go and execute, create any object out of this entity bin. That is the bin. Okay. With this understanding, let me try to execute this one. So what I'm doing, I'm saying, okay, once I have this object picked up from the factory, which is application context. Okay, and I'm using this XML. So I am referring to this particular ID, and I'm going to define this object. So Spring is going to create this object. Spring framework is going to create. We are not going to create. We are picking up only using getBin. But internally, Spring will create this object and maintain that object. And there I'm using the object to execute the code method of that object. What is the object then? What is this object type? Where shall I find this code? What is
Align
this?
container.
align container, because this obj is nothing but align container,
Align container, yes, sir.
isn't it? So I will go and find out, oh, there is a default constructor. Okay, fine. Anything else? Oh, yes, there is a code. And that is a method with a parameter. That means a parameterized method. So am I following the prototype? Okay, yes, I am saying that I am sending a parameter within the code. So I'm correctly following. The prototype is correctly observed. Okay, let me execute this. Anything else? Nothing else. Everything is commented out. Fine. Can I execute this? What will I expect?
obj colon equal to
Okay. And colon equal to?
the code
Tell
message.
me. So basically, we are going to handle this. I have not created this object. Spring has done this. So will I execute the constructor? If I do not execute the constructor, will I be able to create the object? I am not creating, but Spring is creating. But it has to follow the Java technology. So Java says, if you have to create this object, even if you are not doing, maybe Spring is doing, but you have to execute the constructor. What is the constructor here? The constructor is this one, a default constructor. So a default constructor is executed. So will you not expect this to be printed as well?
Yes, sir.
That is to show that though you have not created, but somebody has executed that constructor. Otherwise, that obj will not be created. And that's why I've given that statement to understand, make you understand that somebody has created this object for you, and that is Spring. And if I do not get this message, that means there is something wrong. This object has not been created. Okay. So let me check. And what else? So there are two statements that are going to be printed. One is if I am sure, if I am not incorrect, if I am correct, then this is one thing which is going to be printed on the console, and another thing is going to be printed from the code, which is with this parameter. So obj colon with a dash and I am coding. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me execute this. I will go to run as a Java application. Oh, yes. Now that is quite beautiful thing that I have not created. I have not given new. In not anywhere I have given new. And nowhere there is a new. Nowhere there is a new thing. So who has created this object called obj? You have not created because you have not used new constructor.
Spring, sir.
Spring. So that is a direct proof that the Spring framework has taken over. That is called the IOC.
Hello, sir.
Inverse of control. IOC is inverse of control. IOC is inverse of control. That means the control has now gone to Spring core. Spring core is controlling the role of creating the object, maintaining the object, destroying the object. Through what? Internally by the Spring framework. You just have what you have done, just use that. And you have configured it correctly such that this particular entity could be created. An object through this entity could be created. That's all. You are just the director. You are doing only the what. Your requirement is to get this object and to use the code function of the object, and that you are done. But internally, Spring has created and done everything. Spring has used your configuration file to create this object obj. Clear? Therefore, it is saying obj, it is printing, I am coding. Okay. If I had given align 3, then you know that it will give an error. And what is the error? Let me check. Yeah. It is saying the exception in the thread main, it is saying that in this beans factory, I have no such bean defined, and that is an exception. No bean by the name align 3 is available.
Align 3 number is
Align 3 doesn't exist.
yes, sir.
Do you see any bean with one is align and the other one is align 2? But you have mentioned you are trying to pick up align 3, but align 3 doesn't exist. Okay.
Yes, sir. It will give error, sir.
That is what it is giving error. No such bean definition exception. So now we are understanding the usefulness of the configuration file and how you are configuring and how you are using it. Simple, right? Is this clear, this point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And now I have corrected it. I have understood my mistake. I am using this and now I am correct. That container object has been created and this thing. Let me do proceed. Are you getting it difficult or? So this is the concept of Spring container. Okay. A container which is having a number of more than one bin. So with the container that comes the concept of this is the container and these are the individual bins. And here you have not defined the scope. By default, the scope is Singleton. And why? What is Singleton and what is prototype? Now we are going to understand. Now we are trying to go to line to point number 13, which is Singleton versus prototype. Now these are nothing but what is that? How the Spring handled to create new object? Is Spring mentioned over here? No. A very good question, Kundan, actually. Kundan is asking how Spring is handling the creation of the new object. Is Spring mentioned over here? No.
No, sir.
Anybody can answer this question?
What's that?
The question was, what Kundan is asking is, sir, how is internally Spring is, because I have created a Maven Java project. Then where is Spring coming into picture? Why I'm saying that the Spring is creating the object, not we.
So in the Maven dependency.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Maven dependency, that is where. Now, very good question by Kundan and a fantastic answer by Sayantan. So let me explain to the class. Now what I'm going to do to explain the question of Kundan, what I will do, I will go back here. I see this thing is working. Now, my question was, how is Spring creating this object? I have not created, I have not used new or anything. And neither anywhere there is only a default constructor. But somebody is executing this constructor and I'm saying it is Spring. The framework, Spring framework is doing that. How? Because I have given this IOC. This is though a Maven project, but I have asked Maven to have the dependency of Spring core. Yes, I have imported the libraries of Spring Core, because Spring Core will help me to have the inverse of control. So the control of the objects will now be handed over to Spring Core. Spring Core will take care. But by saying only this will not happen. You have to you have to import the library dependency. Okay. Correct. Now what I'm going to do, who can suggest me what I'm going to do? Who can understand what I'm going to do right now?
POM
I'm
XML.
going to open the POM XML. And I'm going to take away the two dependency that I have added. I have added two dependencies. See, by default, this was the dependency, the JUnit from Jupyter. Okay, this was the dependency. And now I have created additional dependency because I wanted to use Spring Core feature into my Maven project, into my Java application. I am slowly going to Spring Boot, but I have to first understand Spring Core and the dependency injection. Dependency injection is the POM configuration. This is also a configuration file. These XML files are configuration files, but pom.xml is directly given by the Maven. Maven is a build software. Maven is a build software. Maven has given me the feature of POM. POM is project object model. And it's just an XML file, which is a configuration file. But it knows the element called dependency and element called dependencies. So under the main dependencies, I can have hundreds of dependency imported. Now, for the time being, I am blocking this. I am first of all blocking this under XML. Acha, in XML, how do you give this block comment? You block it and then say Control Shift and front slash. Under the question mark, you will see front slash. And to take this out, I mean, you want to uncomment this, you say backslash. Control Shift and backslash. Okay. So now I want to block comment this. So you say Control Shift and front slash. So you have commented this out. And also this one. Two dependencies I have added separately. How do I take it out? You comment it, that's all. Control Shift, front slash. Now I will save this. Once I save this, I go back to here. See, did you see that your
Control C backslash or front slash only applicable in XML file?
XML file, yes.
Okay.
Because XML is a bit different from HTML. HTML is more lenient, whereas XML is quite strict in its application. So anyway, but just to, in this ID, what is called that Spring Boot, Spring Tool Suite, what you do for XML files, you block this and say Control Shift and front slash to comment it. And to uncomment it, Control Shift.
Control Shift.
Okay, I mean writing this.
Yeah.
See, for a single line, what you do? This, dash, dash, and then you put your comment. For commenting a block of XML statements, use CTRL plus Shift plus what? This front slash, or I will put it under quotes. So this will block comment. And I will copy this. For uncommenting a block of XML statement, use which is already commented. I want to uncomment it. You will say Control Shift and backslash. Just the reverse. That's all. Clear? So here I have commented both the dependency 1 and 2. So I have commented I am not going to inject the dependency called Spring Context as well as the Spring Beans. So now you see what happens. Did you see immediately as you have commented out? Did you see, are you seeing anywhere Spring Core? Only the default. This JUnit was done when you have created the Maven project. This is a default dependency. But are you seeing the Spring Core or any Spring utility? Spring library? Any Spring library? No, you are not seeing. So what will happen now? I go to this Spring container. Okay. And I will execute this again. Error exists in the required project. I ignore it. Proceed. Application context cannot be resolved to a type. What is application context doing? It is.
Sir, I have one. Can I ask you?
Hello.
Yes, sir. I have one doubt. Can I ask you?
Tell me. Is it
Sir,
Deepak?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Deepak, tell me.
Just sir.
Tell me.
Sir, in ASPS means what?
Which one?
ASPS means.
ASPS.
Yes, sir.
What is that?
Yes, sir. One, sir, like in PCS Global also, it's message that the below list students do share your resume, which ASPS means what?
ASPS or ASAP?
ASPS, sir.
Can you share your screen?
No, sir. It's a, I think it's not subjective question. Like here, sir, showing like that one message.
You can write that on the chat.
Yes, sir.
If you can write that on the chat, then I can see the spelling or whatever. And what is the full sentence? What did it ask?
Okay, sir, let it. After finish the class, I ask you.
Okay, fine. No problem. Okay, what it is saying that application context cannot be resolved to a type. You see, and what is application context? It is creating this object, right? Object from where? This object will have the spring.xml. So let me go and check the spring.xml. Spring.xml says that it is nothing but it is configuration of the beans. And it is saying that the bean ID this and the align. So therefore, this application context, context is creating an object, creating this factory or whatever that object.
The voice is breaking.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now.
Okay. So was it getting broken?
No, sir. Now it's
Not,
okay.
Now
not for me.
okay, fine. So this application context, this context is given by whom? By the Spring framework. Because Spring can understand and read this configuration file. And see, you do not get confused with this name. You can give it any name. You can give it Java session. You can name it anything. It is not that because you have given a spring.xml that this is a Spring file. No. Yes, you have given an appropriate name. It's a configuration file which can be read by the application context provided by Spring framework. But this framework itself doesn't exist as a dependency. How? Because you have taken out any Spring framework from your application. You have not injected the Spring framework. So how will it, it's a Java project, it's a Maven project. How will it get the Spring utilities or the libraries? Somebody has to inject this. Okay. So what I do once I suppose I didn't know that, and I have created this application and I'm getting this error. Then only you will remember the class path XML application context cannot be resolved to a path, which is nothing but an application context. That this particular interface and the class both are nothing but application context. And then you say, okay, I have missed to inject the dependency. What I do? Now I will tell you that I want to, by the root cause is, my root cause is in that POM file of Maven, I have to inject the dependency. Now, how do I do that? Isn't it? That next question. How did
Yes,
I,
sir.
did I type it? Did I type it? Where did I get this information from? No, I didn't type it. Let me see what we did. Okay. This is a very important, so please everyone note it down. This mavenrepository.com, you just type in, you just go anywhere, you just type in MVN or Maven repository, that will do. Maven repository. Repository is nothing but a store. It's a storage, it's a factory where, but it is from the Maven. So you say Maven is a build tool like Gradle. Maven is a build tool which will help you to build a project with all its dependencies and other things. So Maven repository, you just press enter. Then you see this is the official site for Maven repository. You go here. Are you seeing this Maven repository? This one? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So Maven repository for any objects which you need to inject, or libraries or jar files. Basically, these are jar files. If you want to inject that or import that into your application, please do it from Maven repository, because every other thing, all the third party, whatever is there included in the Maven. That's why Maven is so important. You can build an entire project just depending on Maven. Okay, here I say Spring in the search button or the search text box. Okay, I'm trying to search the Spring core. Here, okay, Spring context. Okay, let me go to Spring Core first. Spring Framework, Spring Core. This is the Spring Core. Right now, I do not need entire Spring Core. I want to have only Spring context. Okay. Because I would like to do the application context, which is nothing but a Spring context. So I will say that I want to, what is that? 5, that C, you can use 5.3.114, but let us use this, which is also very popular. This is just the version that you have selected. And what you do, you pick up, see, this is the Maven, this is the Gradle. If you are using a Gradle build, then you can Gradle project. You remember when we were creating the Maven project, you were getting 2 options.
Yes,
Either
sir, Maven and Gradle.
Huh?
Yes, sir, Maven and Gradle, 2 options.
2 options. But here I am creating a Maven project. So if I am using a Maven project, in the Gradle also you will find POM file, pom.xml. But here I will use Maven and I will use this dependency. Just click on it. You will see that entire thing gets highlighted. You copy it, Control C, and then you go to your Maven. But before the ending of the dependency, you paste it. So what did I do? I have pasted it within the slash dependencies. That means it is an element, a child element under dependency. And then I will say Control I. Okay, I'm just doing some indentation. That's all. Now, so did you see that I have imported the Spring context? Now I will again go and check. See, is that thing gone away? This still cannot be resolved to a type. So the error is still there. Why the error is there? Because we need something else other than Spring context. We need the, because see, just check the Spring. It needs the bins, Spring bins. Okay. Or you can go to Maven dependencies. Now you will see that without the Spring bins, the entire Spring context will not have any meaning. So therefore, you have to go to pom.xml and you, Maven repository. Where is Maven repository? Here. Maven repository. Now, what will you search in this?
Spring beans.
Spring beans. Because the context and the beans will work together, Spring beans. But this is from the Spring framework. You see, I'm going to Spring beans. Either you can click here, or you can click here, or you can click here. Better to click on here. Get it? Spring beans. And here you will get the versions. See, I have used 5.3.8 as Spring context. So can I use this? Never do that. You always keep the same version, 5.3.8. And then just go here. You will see there is a dependency called Spring beans. Yes. Okay. I have got it. Control C. Go to this one. And you just come down. Before the dependencies closing, you have to do this. Okay. So what are the things that I done? See, this entire comment and all these things are coming from that particular Spring. This one from the Maven. So you just copy this part with the comment. So what we had now, Spring framework and the Spring context and the Spring brings all from the Spring framework, and both the versions match. Therefore, this should work. I can go to Maven and I will say I would like to refresh this. Okay. And I go to this. Okay. Let me refresh the project.
I think you have to save the file, XML file.
Oh, I didn't save it. What did I do?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, sorry. Now, since you have saved it, and therefore this, can you see now that Spring AOP, Spring Bean, Spring Context, Spring Core, everything has been now injected, or the dependency has been injected. Clear? So immediately once you do this, you just see now the application context will correctly work. Yes, the error has gone. Clear? And now you are going to find this. I will run this. Run as application, it should work. Yes. So did you understand the importance of the bins, which are Spring bins that you have injected in the POM file? Clear? So I will take this out. Is this clear now?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
the
sir.
configuration file, both are configuration file, but one is directly from Maven, and you can use the Maven repository to pick up the dependencies along with the Spring. Along with the configuration file of the application. This is the application configuration file. This is the Maven configuration file. And application context, because these are the application folder. Under the application folder, you are keeping the application configuration file. And where is POM XML? It is under the project. Clear? Can I go ahead? Any questions up to this? Now, if you have understood this part, let us continue further. Okay. Now what I do, I say I'm going to this topic. I'm going to Singleton versus Prototype. Now this is Singleton and Prototype. These are the design pattern defined within the Spring framework. Now what is Singleton and Prototype? Let us see an example. I'm saying I'm taking out this one. I am commenting. I have added this part of the code. I've taken out the comment. What I'm doing here is I'm creating, the Spring is creating. This part is already clear now. That's who is doing this. Spring is doing it. Spring is creating another object called obj1 through the same factory, which is this one, and getting another bin. but referring to the same bin. So there are two. Oh, acha, this align to. Okay, fine. The name is the ID is the same. So I do not need to add another bin. So the same ID, I'm referring to align container. That's fine. But what I'm doing here, I'm doing something else. Here, I was just doing this. Now, what I'm going to do this is I'm saying obj1 code and I'm saying obj. So it will print something, the code part. What is the code part? It will say, I'm coding. obj1, I'm coding. Okay. Now I'm saying, do you see that there is an align container? And there is a declared age, int age, but did I define with a value? Did I set any value?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, what does this mean? obj1.age. obj1 is the object of align container. So align container is the object, and I am setting the age of obj1 to 18. Can I do this? Think
Yes.
of the encapsulation. Think of Java. Can you directly do that? You have to use the setter method. Set age. In Java, you had to do like this. Set age, because age is the property. Age is the property. So what do you do in Java? You say setter, you have to give the setter method and you say set age 18. But I do not have any setter and getter method. I do not have any setter. Do you have any setter or getter method?
No.
I've made it off. That get age, set age, I made it off. And I will never use it because that is the way that I used to define in Java the entity bin or entity class with an encapsulation, setter and getter. Here I'm not doing, because why I'm not doing? Because I am not in charge of creating, maintaining any object. Clear? Who is doing this? So I'm leaving it on. So this, if I had used the encapsulation, this would have been wrong. In Java, encapsulated entity class or bin, we would encounter an error if you try to do that, because that is a protection. Encapsulation, nobody can directly have an access to age and set like this. You cannot do that. You have to come through the setter and the getter. Here, whenever you are assigning something, you are calling, because this is an entity class, align container. So if you are going to set the age value to 18, you have to come through the setter. But here you can directly do it because you are not in charge of the object obj1. So by giving this instruction, you are saying, Spring, please help me to use the setter internally that you want to do it, but please assign a value of 18 to the age. Then internally, what Spring is going to do is call the setter method of this entity class. Though you have not defined, but internally Spring will maintain or have that infrastructure to call the setter method. Getter setter method. No, I will not do that in the class itself. Let Spring handle that. So Spring will call internally the setter method and set the value of age to 18. This is a Java funda, but the same funda has been used by Spring, not by you. So you are only concerned with what you are trying to do. You are trying to assign 18 to age, and let the how it is done, how that setter method will be called by Spring, that let it decide. Let it be handled by Spring code. Clear this point? If so, in interview, somebody asks you, is this a valid statement if you are using a Spring object? The object that you are getting from the configuration, the Spring configuration file. You say, yes, my entity class does not implement encapsulation, but internally it will be maintained and implemented by Spring core, by the Spring framework. This is the framework which does the work for you. Clear? It will handle
Yes.
the Spring beans. That is the mystery. That is how it is done. So does it answer your question, Kundan? Kundan, did I answer you? Yes. So if it is clear, I'm very happy. Now this getters, setters, and everything will be done. Now when you say obj1.age through print line, what are you calling actually? Who is helping you to get that age? It is the getter method called by Spring code. Spring framework, better to say. Or code. Spring code. And this is the in Java encapsulated entity class bin, we would encounter an error by this statement. Like if you want to assign it, you try it yourself. In Java, you pick up you define any encapsulated entity bin, and then you try to set directly like this, age equal to 18, obj1.age equal to 18. You will get an error. You have to use the setter method, because at that point of time you are doing the object, you are creating the objects, destroying the objects yourself. But this is a setter method called by Spring. I'm writing up to this. Okay. Your understanding is important. Clear? So both the setter and the getter method works because it is handled by Spring. And you have to just say what you are trying to do. In this case, you are trying to print this age, and here you are setting the age. That's all. Simple Java statements. No need of calling any setter or getter. So let us see whether it works. And it is calling align to. Fine, the same align condition. So I do not have to change anything over here. Do you think that you need to change anything? No.
No, sir.
Because align to is there. And another beautiful thing. Oh, this is a different one. Okay, leave it. We will come to that. So let me save this. Let me run this. Okay. This part you know that will work. So align container object created by Spring. obj1 I am coding. Fine, because you say obj1 and you have called code. So therefore you have sent obj1 and you are saying code. Yes. So here it is object. That means you don't have to match it. You can say anything. Object parameter. This is just a parameter you are passing in the method. And you say object parameter. That's all. So I save it and again I run it. And then my result will be the same. So obj1, I'm sending this with the colon and dash. So it is going to print it like that, object parameter, and say I will coding. I'm coding. So, and age obj1 is 18. You see, it's working. What about if I do not use the setter? I have not used the, I have not assigned any value to. What will be the value of one.age?
Undefined.
No, that is JavaScript thing.
Null.
Are you sure? It is 0. Because what is the definition or what is the declaration? Int age. So it is an integer. So default value is always 0. You have not defined anything called null.
Yes, sir. Integer means obviously 0.
Obviously 0. So that is why. So I am not setting any default value. Now, see, I am not happy with 0. I need to have some value. And I will also not see if you are setting this, that means this is a hard coding, isn't it? This is hard coding. See, if I hard code, the problem is that if I have to, now today my age is 18, tomorrow it can become 19. So shall I keep on changing everywhere of the code anywhere? Because this is one program. Maybe there are, so say, another 20 programs which is referring to my age. So is it not good that, see, I'm not using database right now. So my data is not in the database. So is it not better that I will use the configuration to define my age? Do you think? Because in that case, instead of changing in 20 places of the code with the hard coding 18 to 19, I will change in one place. Which one is better? Which one is better? If I have to change the obj1 age to 19 instead of 18, shall I keep on doing over here? Or better, because there can be another few programs which are also referring to the age of 18. So isn't it better that I do it in the place in the same in one file instead of changing 20 files?
Yes.
You will be mad because you have to find out all the programs which has the age set to 18. So always try to do some configuration within the file. If you want to set the default value to the value of the age to 19, you do it within the configuration file, because then that configuration file will be referred by all the application, by all the programs in that application. So everywhere you change in one place, but the effect will be in all the places. But how do you do that? And what is this called? This is called the setter injection. You are setting a value, isn't it? Of which class? The entity class. The property injection, or you are setting the property through the configuration file. Let us see how this is done. Okay. Are you understanding that I am not going to do it in the program itself? I will do the same setting the age to 18, but I will do it not in the code. I will do it in the configuration file. Okay. What I do, I will pick up this one. Oh, did I, oh, sorry, I have gone to a different thing. Okay, let me finish this, then I will come to that. I was supposed to show you the singleton versus the prototype. Okay, but we will do that. Oh,
Sir?
Hmm?
Sir? Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, can you leave me today early? Leave us.
You can go.
Actually, my health is not well, sir. I'm joined, but
No. Don't stress yourself, Anirban. Your health is the first thing, first criteria. You must go. Take rest.
yes, sir.
Because is it fever?
Sir, some high fever, yes, sir. High up to 100 degree fever.
Okay, no problem. But that is, you must take care because everyone is getting infected like this.
Yes, sir.
No, take care and start medicines immediately.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I started taking medicines, sir.
Okay. Consult a doctor. Don't take medicine of your own.
Yes, sir. I have consulted doctor. They have given antibiotic. This.
Fine. Do that way.
Okay, whatever I am trying to complete the class, but if you can't, don't mind. Okay, sir.
No. I will never mind. Why shall I mind?
Okay, sir. I'm trying to complete the class actually. Okay, sir.
Okay. No, thank you, Anirban. Even with your this thing, you have joined. You will get the recording. You can follow that. It should be very simple.
Okay, sir.
We are almost towards the end. Okay. I will just complete this. So what I was saying was, let me, before doing this age one, let me, I will show you that age. It is very simple. I mean, you have to set but we have skipped one thing, which is prototype versus singleton. I have jumped it over to setter injection. Okay, let me do this one first. So what I'm doing is, I am let me use this one. So what I'm doing here is, I'm saying I'm creating obj1. Is there any obj1? Okay, no. So obj1, I'm taking from align 2. And setting the age to 18, that I can do as we have seen. And I'm printing this, the age of obj1. Similarly, I'm creating another object, but referring to the same align 2. And obj2 code, I'm saying obj2, whatever, because I'm calling this code. I'm not giving any value over here. And I'm going to print obj2 age. Now, what will be the age? Can anybody tell me? See, I am referring to the same aligned container in both, but okay. And here I am setting the age. Will I print age 18 over here or age 0?
Age 0.
80, sir.
Sure. Think of the thing. My align to is the same.
But sir, objects are different.
The objects are different. Yes, objects are different. But it is referring to the same
IDs.
same bin. It is getting the same bin. Yes, it is creating two different objects. By Spring is creating two different objects. Ashish is saying 18. It should be 18. Okay, let me see. I've got two answers. One is, it is saying object 1 age will be 18. Definitely, because you have set it 18. But Ashish is saying object 2 age will also be 18. Though it's a different object, it is referring to the
Align to, sir.
Same IDs.
same bin, same bin.
Same bin.
Yes, sir. Same
Okay, this is a quite a abnormal situation. If Ashish is correct, then we have to see why he is correct. Let me see. Okay. Do I have to do anything in Spring? I have done align to is there. Fine. So align to is there. So no issues. I will not do anything here. I will run this. Yes, Ashish is correct. Object 2 is also 18. Though I have not said anything, it's a different object. It is because this is where the scope comes into picture. By default, the scope is I'm giving Singleton. If with the scope is Singleton, saving it, you are getting this result. Singleton means you can have 100 objects created of type align container, but if it refers with the same ID, multiple objects referring to the same class or entity class will have the properties, whatever this is set in one will be reflected into the other, because the object remains the same. Though the objects are different, the reference to the entity class remains the same, because that is why it is called Singleton design pattern. Singleton is the default scope, that is only object is created when with multiple reference. That is only one object, sorry. One object is created even with multiple references. So this aligned container is created, aligned container object is created only once, even though it can be referred 100 times. Object 1, object 2, then there can be object 3, 4, whatever. But the age will remain the same unless you change over here, somewhere else. Okay, let me create another. Let me create another object. Let me create object 3. Okay, but with the same reference aligned to. Then I'm saying object, this is object 3. Let me comment this. Okay, or better to comment. So let me uncomment this. Better to comment like this. Okay. Now, so I'm getting object 3. Now here, I'm not giving any object first of all, and then object 3. What will be the object 3 age? Just to check one time. All will be 18.
18.
Is 18, sir.
Because though there are few objects here,
But
but
it's single.
all referring to the same object created once only. That is the aligned container. Aligned container is created only once. Because
The single.
executing this class only once.
Only once, sir.
Because everywhere it is getting referred. Why? Because the scope is singleton. Now, if I change the value of obj2 to 19, and I am not giving any age, obj3 age. Okay. So what will be the obj3 age?
19.
Sure.
Yes.
Correct. So because this value has changed, because who has called the setter method? Again, here there was one setter method called by Spring. There was again a setter method. So the last method will be the current value set. So that is why it is doing. Okay. If I do like this, if I make obj2 age equal to 21, obj1 age to 21, and I am saying obj3 dot age. So what will be the obj3 age? Hello. See, first of all, age, obj1 age was 18. Then it was a setter method, obj2 age was 19. Again, obj1 age was made 21. I can do that. But what will be the value of, because here it has obj3 has been created with the same align code.
It will be 21.
So will it be 21 or 18 or 19?
21.
Yeah. So 18, 19, 21. Okay. So anyway, this is the thing. This is the thing, and I will like to make this as well. Now I go here and change it to prototype. Okay. I go to Spring Container, run it. Are you seeing that obj1 is 18 because you have set it? obj2 age was not set. obj3 age was not set. Are you getting me? If this obj2 age now becomes 0 and obj3 age is 0 as well. Why? Because it has picked up the default value. This is a new object. Though it is referring to the same object, but this object is created. This align container has been created fresh with a new thing. I mean, the default constructor has been executed 3 times because it is prototype. As many times you refer to the same bin you are referring, but you are referring through different, you are creating different objects. Now this object 1 is different from object 2, object 2 is different from object 3, object 3 is different from object 1 and object 2. These are new. Earlier, when the scope was what? Singleton, you were not creating the object again and again with the new. There was no new thing internally by the Spring. But when you have changed the scope to prototype, that means each time you refer to align container through that ID, okay, every time this object is going to be created through the constructor, default constructor.
That means in the prototype scope, we have 3 objects.
In the prototype scope, we have 3. See, every time you can you see that align object created, align object created, that object is freshly created. Okay.
Okay, sir. If the scope changes to prototype now, then the object every time created.
Every time a new object is created.
Yes, sir.
See, I have just remember, I will not get this object created. It will be created only once. First time when you refer to align ID. That's all.
Yes, sir.
You are just using that object again and again. Just I have changed to Singleton. I'm saving it. I go here. I save this. I'm not changing the code here. My object 1 is only set to 18. You will see everywhere it will be 18, 18, 18. And nowhere it will be align object created. Only once. Because that is the difference between prototype. These concepts are going to be used.
Yes, sir. Understood, sir. Yes, sir.
Clear?
Yes,
You see, you have just once you have created the object.
One object created, yes, sir.
One object created, yes. Only one object created. Singleton, that is only one object is created even with multiple references. But, okay, let me copy this so that there is no confusion. In prototype, it is not the default scope. Default scope is session. We'll create new objects every time the class is Are you getting me? So every time, even though you are referring the same reference, whenever the reference is being, whenever you are getting this reference of align to, this will create a new object prototype. That is the difference. Now there is a confusion. I have both the IDs the same and this thing. That is a problem. Okay, let me check over here. See, any compiler, any computer thing, if you are trying to confuse it, if you are not very clear yourself, how can you instruct you are the master and the computer is the slave. So you have to think what you are doing. You are trying to confuse it. You are saying the same ID you are using twice, one with the singleton and one with the scope prototype, one with another scope called prototype. And the align, this one is also the same. The class is also the same. You cannot do that. Whenever there is a confusion, it will stop and give you the error. You must not confuse anyone. Either you can refer it by align 3, you can do that. And rest you can say, and only thing you have to change it over here. Align 3, or keep it align 2, and this one align 2. Okay, I have created align 3 with prototype, align 2 with nothing. With singleton. Just making a bit complicated, but it should run correctly. There is no confusion here. You see, this one is created differently and it has been set also. So it is prototype. A new object has been created. And here you are creating an object with singleton. Therefore, this object, and also it is 0. Okay, I can make this with 19. And here also you will see 19. Okay. Because it is singleton. Align 2 is singleton, align 3 is prototype. So what will be the result? 18, 19, 19. Because both of these are singleton. So this is a very good example. Or if you can have another one. Hello. So you can take one more example, and then this will be the last thing for today. And I am putting it over here. What I am putting it? I am saying object 4, align 3, okay, and object 4, and object 4. Here I am not assigning anything. So what will be the value of object 4H? It is referring to align 3. Align 3 is prototype. So
0.
18 or something else?
0.
0. It's a new object.
Because it is prototype, sir.
Because it is prototype. So these two are this thing, I mean singleton, and these two are prototype. So see, I will see this 2 will be 19, and this one is 18, and this one will be 0. So that will conclude and give you the full evidence, the difference of prototype and this thing. So 18, 19, 19, 0. And every time there is a prototype, you are creating a new object. You see? You are creating a new object. And also here also, you are creating a new object because align 3. Object 1 is align 3, isn't it? Align 3. Okay. So is it clear?
Yes, sir.
No confusion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good. Thank you then. I will stop the sharing and I will stop the recording as well.